Thank you, Dr. Rinadia's talk about the primacy of extensive reading and listening. And I think he talks a lot about the theory. So he kind of set up the theoretical backgrounds from my talk. And I am also happy that we share a lot of similar beliefs about reading and a lot of about extensive reading. So there might be a little bit overlaps between my talk and also Dr. Randia's talk. Okay, so before I start my talk, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, so before I start my talk, I would like to do a very quick survey. So can everyone take out your cell phone and then scan the QR code? So these are the questions that I would like to know about everyone's belief about reading and also extensive reading. So there are two questions. Okay, wait, let me go back. Okay. So the first question is, rank the importance of the principle of teaching extensive reading. So there are 10 of them. This one? Okay. Okay, I will wait for another 30 seconds. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen right now so I can see some of the answer here.
Do you want to share this?
Yes, but I want them to scan this as well, so I'll keep this. Okay, I will wait for another 20 seconds and later I will show everyone the results. Okay, I have a second question I would like to ask. The second question is, when I think about reading, I'm thinking about, okay. So I can see there are 23, 24 participants who is writing their answer here. Okay, so let's take a quick look of our answer. When we think about reading, we are thinking about learning, story, or like books for fun, words, and also input, enjoyment. So these are the answer from all of the teachers, and this is also our beliefs about reading. Okay, so I'm going back to the previous question a little bit. So let's take a look at the ranking of your belief about reading, extensive reading program. Okay, here. Okay, so the first one is learners choose what they want to read. And the second one is the purpose of reading is usually related to pleasure, information, and general understanding. So which meets what your definition of reading. And also the third one is a variety of teaching materials on a wide range of topics must be available. And the fourth one is learners read as much as possible. And the last one is reading speed usually faster rather than slower. And reading is individual and silent. These are the least two from our list. So I'm going back to my slides again. Okay, so the reason why I am doing this survey is because I want to get a better understanding about our belief about reading and also from teachers' perspective or from educators' perspective. Okay, so today I'm going to talk and share some of my teaching practices that I have implemented in my ER program and also in Feng University. And I'm a teacher in the Foreign Language Center at Feng University in Taiwan. And so in the next 25 to 30 minutes, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I've done in my ER program, in my classroom. And also some of them are from my awesome colleagues, their suggestions and feedback. And some of them are from my study in previous literature, okay? So before I start my presentation, I would like to go back to the top 10 principles. So actually the principles are from Dr. Day and Dr. Benford's top 10 principle for ER program, if we are teaching ER. So before we start to quickly go through the 10 principles, I would like to pose 3 questions. And then while I am reading aloud the 10 principles, probably you can stop and think about, sit back and think about these answers. Okay, so the first one is, what is your own view of ER? And the second one is, what is ER today? And the third one is, which principles do you think are really important? So we kind of answer the questions in a survey. Okay, so these are the 3 questions I would like everyone to bear in mind when you are reviewing the 10 principles. So I'm going to quickly review the 10 principles. So the first one is the reading material is easy. And the second one is a variety of reading material on the wide range of topic must be available. And learners choose what they want to read. And learners read as much as possible. And the purpose of reading is usually to pleasure, information, and general understanding. And reading is its own reward. Reading speed is usually faster rather than slower. And reading is individual and silent. And teacher orient and guide their students. And teacher is a role model of a reader. So if we think about these top 10 principles, we might think that they sound perfect and ideal, right? So your students are reading on their own, they are picking up book they want and they read as much as possible. And then they are reading for fun, reading for pleasure. But in reality, when I ask my student to read and then to read as many as possible, this is usually what I got from my students. This is my reality in my college classrooms. So I was wondering why students, they are so reluctant to read and then their reading motivation is low. So here are some challenges and reasons that I encountered in my own classroom, and also some of them are from previous literature. Okay, so the first one is time limitation inside and outside of classrooms. So take my university for example. So ER is a must, it's a requirement for our freshman English students in the first year. So, but we only have 2 hours of instruction time. So it means that it's almost impossible for us to implement ER in our own classroom. So ER is often done outside of students' time, outside of the classroom. And some universities, they don't have enough reading materials. And also the limited variety of book choices is also a challenge. But we are lucky that in Fengjia, we have around 3,000 copies of books. So students can check out from the library. But for our university, we have around 4,000 freshman students. So there's is still not enough books for us, our students to check out. So we got some complaint from our students. And starting from 2019, we started using X Reading, the online reading platform. So it can solve some of these problems that students cannot find enough books or insufficient reading materials. And the other issues that we found, and also I also found from previous literature, is students' academic dishonesty. So we found a lot of students, they cheat because they want to get a better grades. And then this is still issues that we are still finding solutions, better solutions. But I don't think this issue will disappear because it's kind of human nature. And also the other thing that it's connected to my next challenge is reading development in Taiwan or in many EFL countries is always related to explicit teaching or like grammar or vocabulary examination. So when students are thinking about reading, they are not thinking about enjoyment or pleasure. Most of them are about like having a test or exam. So they are a lot of negative like feedback or from our students. And also when students, they need to meet the requirement for their English course, for their academic performance, they try to read the books that has more words, and which might cause the problems that because they are not able, their language proficiency level is not good enough to read the challenge book or high level books. So they sometimes fail in the quizzes and they misunderstood the content inside the book. So their ability to choose the book is also one issue that we found in our ER program. So these are the challenges implementing ER programs. And there is another big one, which is think about how difficult it must be to read even 5 pages of an 800-page college textbook when you have used to spending most of your time switching between one digital activity and another in a matter of seconds. It really highlights the challenge students and faculty both face in the current days. So the reason why I want to quote this is from Psychology of Popular Social Media research. The reason why I want to quote this is because the way we think about reading nowadays might be very different from maybe 10 years or 15 years ago. And the way students read is also very different. Their reading behavior, their attention span, but they are still doing the reading, but it is becoming more challenging to ask our students to sit for 2 hours or 1 hour, even 30 minutes to read just for one book. So maybe as teachers, we also need to think about how we define reading nowadays, and is digital reading considered real reading? These are all the questions that I would like everyone to think about with me, and maybe we can try to get out from this seminar. Okay, so if we go back to the 10 principle again, and also the 3 questions, what is ER to you and what is ER today? Actually, the 3 questions are from Dr. Day's speech in a 2020 online seminar. He asked the same question because he know a lot of teachers, they criticize some of the principles, but he remind us that, in different situation, different environment, or in different teaching scenarios, these principles are guidelines. You don't have to follow all of them, but you can modify because these principles are from teacher development education. So it's like a more perfect scenario for teachers. So if I'm going to ask myself, what are something that is applicable to my own teaching scenarios or in Fengjia, I would say that the three learners choose what they want to read. I will consider this is a like gray area because it depends on who I'm working with, also who are my students. For example, if I am working with the lower level students, I will probably do a whole class reading with them in the very first beginning weeks with my students. But if I'm working with like high level or like motivated students, of course, I think you can let your student choose what they want to read. And also the purpose of reading is usually related to pleasure, information, and general and understanding. I might have a second thought about this one, because if we are making connection from to grades or like their academic performance, reading pleasure might be pretty subjective to our students. So I might have a second thought about this one. And reading is its own reward, is the same. So we are giving student grades for this one. So for most of the students, reading is for having a good grades or achieve the academic performance. So these are the three principles that I might have a second thought in my own situation, okay? And then the rest of them, I think I can apply them pretty well in my own classroom and also in my own setting, okay? So my own definition of ER in language, second language acquisition might be students read extensively with large quantities of books and other materials that are well within their linguistic competence. And then they select their reading material themselves and read at their own speed. So these might be more close to my understanding about my student and also my our ER program right now. And in addition, if we think about like engagement and also motivation is always the key to learning. And if we're thinking about reading motivation, and I would like to use Wakefield and Guthrie's taxonomy of reading motivation, for example. So they separate reading motivation into three main categories. The first one is competency and efficacy beliefs. And the second one is purpose for reading. And the third one is social aspect of reading. Most of the time when we ask our students what's their definition about reading, they always talk about the intrinsic motivation. It's about recognition, it's about grades, it's about competition. But as a reader, and also a teacher myself, I'm thinking, even though there are so many challenges and there are so many cheating issues that's going on, but what are something we as teachers can do to try to improve students' intrinsic motivation and maybe try to do something in classroom to raise a little bit of social aspects of reading? So these are the questions that I often ask myself. So when I'm teaching or using a ER program in my own classroom, this is the question I'm asking myself. So what are some alternatives to improve students' reading motivation in EFL classrooms? So in the following slides, I'm going to share some of the activities that we can use to incorporate like reading activity in the classroom and also to promote or motivate students to read more and to promote ER. Okay, so if we think about reading, so and we separate reading into different stages. Okay, so and if we want to teach ER, there are a couple of stages. Like the first one is pre-reading and during reading and after reading. So there are a lot of things we can do. So because ER is done almost like outside of classroom for my students. So I will probably do a whole class reading in my own class, especially in the beginning of the semester, to set up a little bit of reading behavior and routine with my students. So guided reading, and also maybe we can try to demonstrate a little bit about think aloud reading with our students. For example, so I have a great reader with me, okay? So if I'm going to do a think aloud in front of my students, I will probably ask them to take a look at the cover of the reader, and then maybe read a little bit about the title to see if they like it, and also the authors, and then they can check a little bit about the books by, and there are some information they can find out, publishers, and there are also book levels. So these are the places they can look for books. And also after reading the book cover, I will probably go back in the back, I will see the summary, the story to read a little bit to see if I like the story or not. And then you can also try to read a little bit about the prologue and also maybe read 1 or 2 chapters with your students to let them maybe get a little bit inside the story to see if they like chapter 1 or chapter 2. So what I have done or what I have like demonstrated so far, we probably would think this is kind of easy, right? This is natural. But nowadays, I find a lot of my students, they don't know where to find these information. So instead of telling them just go to the library and find a book or just search a book online, I think maybe do a little bit of demonstration might be helpful for your student, especially for lower level students. And there are some information for them to check out some of the like levels guidance for them. Okay. So next, I'm going to share some of the activities or some of the some of the activities I've done in my class that they can probably try to improve or help students engage in reading or feel better about reading. Okay, so the first one I would like to share is, I call it picture the story. So this is activities that we can done after reading one chapter or one paragraph, or even after reading the whole book. So this is the direction for my students. So after reading chapter 2, I would like you to search a picture online that best describe the travel agency in the book. So this is from one of the, so I asked students to, we read the chapter 2 together, and then I asked them to search a picture they think that describe the setting. So this is what I got from my students. Okay, so as you can see, there are a lot of like similar patterns from my students. So these are all from my students' pictures. So there are some keywords, for example, red bricks, two-story house, and then like a house with history or a cafe. So you can take, there are some similar patterns. The students, they didn't talk to each other, so they just find it online. So by using this way, you can take a look at students' comprehension about that chapter to ask them to make sure that they understand the setting of the story. And also, you can also take a look at some of the photos if there is a like huge gap between one student to other students, and you can maybe ask them some question to make sure they understand the vocabulary or the setting of the story. And I found it is also interesting that if I have a student from different parts of the world, sometimes they will provide something similar, but a little bit different from different cultural backgrounds. So this one is actually from my Japanese students. So we had a little bit of a, like intercultural chat about the book, and why I asked him why he chose the article. So I think it is also a good time for teachers to start a conversation, and also students can learn from each other from different culture. Okay, so this is one. And then we can also do something, incorporate ER inside different kinds of speaking activities. So there are different things we can do. Reading aloud and reader theater is something that I have done in my own classroom. So reading aloud, it can be after reading one chapter or after reading a book, and you ask students to bring a book, or you ask students to share one paragraph that they like inside the story, and ask each student to read aloud to their partners or to their peers or to a small group. And reader theater is something similar. So if you can assign a student to a book chapter, and there might be 3 characters inside the story, so you can assign one student to be character 1, character 2, character 3, and one be the narrator, so they can practice speaking out loud. So by using this way, it helps promote reading fluency, and also students, they can learn and try to mimic the emotion of the character. So when they speak louder, so it means that probably the person is angry, or they try to emphasize something. If someone speak faster, maybe he or she is like a little bit nervous, or they are impatient. So they can try to step into the character's shoes, and then to get a better understanding about the character. And then it also helps them build up their reading confidence. And this is some feedback I got from my students. So I'm going to play a little bit of my students reading aloud. It's not perfect, but at least she tried. Did you hear anything? Did you hear anything? I'm sorry, wait, please wait for me. Okay.
Hello, a middle-aged woman answered the phone. This is a Go Anywhere travel agency. How may I help you? Hi, my name is Elle. I'm calling to ask about a job opportunity. I got a message. Are you looking for someone? I don't have much work experience, but I will work hard and do my best. Elle felt nervous and tired. Wait a minute. Could you please slow down if you are asking about a job position? Yes, we are looking for an employee, but you have to pass the interview first.
So these are just a very short clip about from my students on reading aloud. Okay, so this can be one example. And students, because they don't have to show in front of the camera, so it's easier, and I think my students like it. And I also find it is hard to like read aloud fluently, and they need to practice for several times. So this is also one way we can use in our speaking activities. And the other one is reader poster presentations. So this can be a project you can do for one semester or one small like project for your students. So in these, so we did a reader poster presentation for our students. So our students, they have to work in a group and they have to decide a book and design the poster for that book. And after their design of the poster, they have to give a 3 to 4 minutes of presentation to talk about how they designed the poster, a little bit summary about the story, and also the rationale of why they choose this picture or photo, so this illustration for this poster. So by having this kind of activities, students get a chance to talk about a book, to share their response to the book, and it is beyond like reading comprehension. So we create opportunity for students to interact with each other. And if you have students who have like they are in a high level, maybe you can ask them to do a written work task. For example, ask them to do a book report. You can ask them to do a character analysis and do a little bit summary and why they like or they dislike the story. So this can also be done in your own classroom as well. And also, we can also incorporate different kinds of technology and social media. So if you are after reading, we can ask our student to do the real feedback. So we can ask student to post their Twitter post online, or maybe they can write a longer post like in Amazon.com or like a Goodreads. So student can get a better understanding, and they will think they are reading and writing for real purposes. So these are something that we can do in our classroom. And then the other thing that if we want to make it more interactive or more trending, so maybe we can invite our student to record their book review online and then send it to like TikTok or different social media channel. So students, they will feel it is interesting and they are sharing the idea to someone in different parts of the world. So I'm going to show you 30 seconds of my students here.
And this time I'm going to introduce about this book, The Riches of Pendle. This book was okay, like it was not that boring, but for me it was too short. So for people who are doing e-reader and who wants to read a long book, I don't recommend this one. This book was about a girl who was said that she's rich and about her life. So her life was not that good because she has so many discriminations and she's bullied. So it is not a happy story. Yeah. Bye bye.
Okay, so this is one example from my students. So by using this way, they can share their reviews to people from different parts of the world, and then they get chance to practice their speaking as well. So after sharing all of these activities, you probably will ask me that is it worth implementing ER in your own classrooms or in my own classrooms? To be honest, I don't have the answer for you. It all depends because it takes a lot of teachers' efforts and students' effort to read. And also we need to get support from the institution as well. However, I would like to share a little bit of the outcome and results from our own 2.5 years of ER program at Feng University. So on the, as you can see from this table, on the second columns, so these are the targets words that students have to read in each level. So for level 1 students, we have 4.5 level, like 5 levels. So for level 1 students, they have to read 40,000 words per semester. So it means they have to read 80,000 words for two academic semester. And then level 2 students, they have to read 80,000 words. And then level 3 and level 4, they have to read 100,000 words. So these are from 2000, the first semester of 2018, and then the second semester. So, and we, in the first 2 years, we use M-Reader, just student read and check out books from the library, and we use M-Reader as the platform to read books. And this is the second semester. The first semester that we use X-Reading, the online reading platform for our Fengjia students. So these are the results. So even though some of them, these are the average of each level, even though some of the levels, they didn't meet the target goal, but they are reading. You can see that students, they are capable of reading. But I have to warn you that we also found a lot of like cheating issues, okay, when we are having the ER program. And I would also like to share a little bit about students' vocabulary and reading comprehension. So the blue ones are pre-test and the gray one are the post-test. So as you can see, there are different levels, and we can see improvement across different levels in terms of their vocabulary size and also their comprehension. And we also found similar results in their reading speed. So this is the beginning point, and this is the second semester, and this is the third semester. These are from my own. These are some samples from each levels. So that is to say that ER program does provide some of the resources that can help students improve their different language skills, okay, and vocabulary, and also reading comprehension. So in my talk today, I'm not going to tell you that ER is perfect and then we should all use it. But just like Dr. Ronandia said, that probably it is a good starting point to give us to start thinking about, should we use this? If I'm going to use it, what are some principles we can use it? So I'm going to close my presentation by giving you some suggestions for teaching implication. So first of all is, although we don't have a lot of time, and also there are a lot of challenges that we have been encountered, but if we can implement a little bit of classroom activity to help our students get into reading, I think it all helps. And then the other one is reading is not only an individual and silent activity. I think reading is a social learning and social literacy activity. Think about if you are reading a book, you want to share with your friends, and also you want to tell other people this, your like and dislike about the book. And all the YouTubers, they are sharing their recommendation of book list of the year. So this is also a social learning activity that can promote reading. And also there are a lot of technologies nowadays we can use to incorporate and assist our learning in classroom. And the other one is reading takes time. So I think all teachers, we can allow a little bit of dear time. So it means drop everything and read time. It doesn't have to be for a long hour. It can be just in the beginning of of your class, maybe 15 minutes, or by the end of your class, it takes 10 minutes, all students or all teachers like start reading the book they want or start reading their great readers. And then also reading is a lifelong skills. And I do believe that as teachers, we need to set up the role model for our students to let them see what a good reader behave, or like there are different ways that a good reader can be. So I want to end my presentation by giving you this poster, The Rights of the Reader. And I hope my presentation can bring a little bit of insight for your own implementation in the ER program in your own classroom. Thank you very much.